Dot is 36 years old. He sits in an aggressively beige office cubicle, staring at a spreadsheet that is slowly draining his will to live. Every month, like a good little cog in the machine, Dot takes a chunk of his paycheck and drops it into a standard diversified portfolio. He did the math. He read the blogs. He bought into the gospel of compounding. But looking at his screen today, Dot feels like a fool. It's been 3 years. He's sacrificed vacations. He's skipped dinners. And for what? The line on his chart barely registers as a hill, let alone a mountain. It's moving like molasses in winter. Dot's brain is screaming at him. It's telling him the system is rigged. It's telling him to pull the money out, buy a depreciating asset with an engine, and at least feel the wind in his hair. He is experiencing the most dangerous emotion in wealth building: boredom. Extreme, agonizing boredom. Dot is standing on the precipice of a massive mistake. He is about to interrupt a mathematical absolute simply because he lacks the biological hardware to process what is actually happening. He doesn't know it yet, but he is trapped in the 8. He hasn't survived long enough to see the 4, and the 3 isn't even in his vocabulary. Welcome to the documentary. Let's strip away the emotion and look at the cold, hard wiring of your defective brain. Human behavior is fundamentally a series of biological glitches. You are walking around with a neurological operating system optimized for hunting mammoths and surviving the winter. You are not optimized for long-term capital allocation. Here is your primary glitch. You are a linear thinker living in an exponential world. If you take 30 linear steps, you walk across the room. If you take 30 exponential steps, you circle the Earth 26 times. Your brain cannot visualize the latter. It outright rejects it. When you invest, you expect linear rewards. I put in X, I get Y. I put in X again, I get Y again. But compounding doesn't care about your expectations. Compounding is backloaded. It starves your dopamine receptors for a decade, and then it buries you in momentum. This brings us to the mathematical framework known as the 8-4-3 rule. Listen closely. I am not promising you a yacht. I am not promising you a specific return. I am teaching you the physics of a system. The 8-4-3 rule is an educational model that illustrates the velocity of compounding at a theoretical 7 to 8% average growth rate, assuming consistent, fixed contributions. Here's how the math breaks down. To reach your first major arbitrary financial milestone, let's call it your base unit, it takes time, a lot of time. It takes roughly 8 years of relentless, boring, unrewarding discipline to hit that first base unit. 8 years of staring at a flat line. 8 years of doubting the system. Why? Because your initial capital is small. The interest it generates is microscopic. The heavy lifting is entirely dependent on your manual labor. Your contributions are doing 90% of the work. The compounding is just a whisper in the background. This is where 99% of people quit. This is where Dot is currently losing his mind. Psychologists call this hyperbolic discounting. It's a cognitive bias. Given 2 similar rewards, humans show a preference for one that arrives sooner rather than later. You heavily discount the value of a reward the further away it is in time. Your brain looks at a payoff a decade away and values it at 0. You want a hit of dopamine right now. The portfolio isn't giving it to you. So you get impatient, you trade, you speculate, you blow up the system, you reset the clock to 0. But what happens if you survive the 8? What happens if you just sit on your hands and do nothing? You enter the 4. Assuming the same fixed contributions and the same average rate, accumulating the exact same amount of wealth your second base unit does not take another 8 years. It takes 4. The time horizon cuts in half. Why? Because you are no longer the primary engine. Your money has finally grown large enough to hire its own employees. The capital base is generating returns that equal or exceed your manual contributions. This is the inflection point. The math is taking over. But your broken, linear brain still doesn't get it. You still think you're trudging up a hill. You don't realize the ground is leveling out. And then you hit the 3. To accumulate the third base unit, the exact same amount of money that initially took you 8 agonizing years, now takes merely 3 years. The velocity is increasing. The time is compressing. If you map it out further, the intervals keep shrinking. 2 years, 1 year, months. Eventually, the system generates your original base unit while you are sleeping on a Tuesday by accident. That is not a guarantee of wealth. That is the mathematical reality of geometric progression. But you will never see it if you let your biology dictate your strategy. Let's look at another glitch. Action bias. When faced with uncertainty, humans have a compulsion to act. We feel that doing something is better than doing nothing. In a survival scenario, freezing gets you killed. In a compounding system, acting gets you killed. You check your portfolio every day. You read headlines. You listen to talking heads panicking about interest rates. Your brain detects a threat. Action bias kicks in. You tinker. You adjust. You sell. Every time you intervene, you are taking an axe to the roots of a tree that is trying to grow. You are resetting the compounding clock. You are forcing yourself to relive the 8-year drought over and over and over again. You must understand this. The system does not care about your feelings. It does not care that you are bored. It does not care that your neighbor bought a new truck. Compounding is a test of endurance, not intelligence. It is a filter. It separates those who can override their primitive neurology from those who remain slaves to it. You don't need a higher IQ to win this game. You need a higher tolerance for extreme monotony. You need to automate the mechanism, throw away the password, and let the mathematics of momentum do the heavy lifting. Let's go back to Dot. Dot didn't sell. He didn't buy the depreciating asset. He didn't blow up his system. Instead, he did something radical. He acknowledged his own biological limitations. He realized his brain was an unreliable narrator, so he automated his contributions. He deleted the brokerage app from his phone. He engineered his environment to make tinkering impossible. He swallowed the better pill of the 8-year drought. It was boring. It was deeply unfulfilling. But he survived it. Now Dot is in the 3. He looks at his screen today and he doesn't feel bored. He feels terrified. Terrified at how fast the numbers are moving. Terrified at the sheer, undeniable force of the math he set in motion a decade ago. His money is working harder than he is. His capital is generating capital. The system is functioning flawlessly, exactly as the model predicted. Dot didn't get rich quick. He got wealthy slowly, deliberately, and systematically. He didn't predict the market. He didn't pick the perfect stock. He just refused to interrupt the math. Your brain wants to quit in year 2. The math demands you wait until year 12. Which one are you going to listen to? If you want to stop letting your biology bankrupt you, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below telling me exactly which year of the 843 cycle you are trapped in right now. Endure the boredom. Trust the system. See you in the next one.